Hey yo, ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talk in the game. This is the Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Check. 1 2 1 2. Live across the universe.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's about that time, y'all.
you are now in the mix. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Code Podcast. Join Kennedy Lucas, Terry Lester, and Jackson Smith as they break down the biggest plays, share locker room banter, and keep it 100 on sports hot takes. Gear up, because this is where the real talk begins. Cause this is where the real talk begins. Gear up. Cause this is where the real talk begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Code Podcast. Kennedy Lucas is still out with a minor cold, but he is expected to return soon. Get well soon, Kennedy. Here's the latest in sports news. The Atlanta Falcons, protecting a 7-3 lead, faced a 4th and 1 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 47, with 9:03 left in the first half of their Week 1 matchup. For the Philadelphia Eagles, the play call would have been automatic, the tush push, and the result would have been nearly automatic, a first down. They've converted the play 96.6% of the time in 4th and 1 scenarios since 2022. It has become so unstoppable that nearly 2/3 of NFL teams voted to ban it. But Falcons coach Raheem Morris is no fan of the tush push, questioning its legality and wanting it banned. So instead, he called for a handoff to star running back Bijan Robinson, who was stopped for no gain. The Bucs scored on the ensuing possession en route to a 23-20 NFC South victory. There's just no other play in our game where you can absolutely get behind somebody and push them, Morris said. I never really understood it, why that was legal. So I've definitely been one of those guys voting against that. Morris is not alone in his skepticism. Only 9 teams have run the play 10 or more times since 2022. 4 teams, the New Orleans Saints, Washington Commanders, Carolina Panthers, and Miami Dolphins, have never attempted one. Even the Indianapolis Colts under Shane Steichen, who was at the forefront of implementing the play when he was with the Eagles, have attempted push plays just 3 times since he was hired in Indianapolis in 2023. None of those attempts produced a first down. The play is as simple as it is effective. At a basic level for the Eagles, it involves quarterback Jalen Hurts taking the snap and diving forward behind a powerful offensive line, while being pushed from behind by teammates lined up in the offensive backfield. The Eagles have attempted it 116 times since 2022, including 6 times in Sunday's victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. That tied for the most attempts by the Eagles in a single game, and it was juxtaposed against the Chiefs' failure on a critical third-quarter 4th and 1 play in which running back Kareem Hunt was stuffed after a handoff. The NFL is often described as the ultimate copycat league. So why don't more teams try to duplicate the Eagles' signature play? The league average success rate for a 4th and 1 non-tush play is 67.0% since 2022, while the league average for a tush push is 84.8%. And the Eagles' rate is nearly 12 points higher. But the teams opposed to the play have a variety of objections, including avoiding injury risk to quarterbacks or not having personnel ideally suited to running the play. Meanwhile, the Eagles keep pushing along, and it's not sitting well with some teams, including Chiefs coach Andy Reid, who accused Eagles linemen of false starts. "We've tried it at other places, and it's not the same replication that it is in Philly," said Saints coach Kellen Moore, who was the Eagles head coach. Offensive coordinator this past season. They're the ones that are doing it, and all of us have tried to replicate it in some way. And usually, at the end of the day, it's their play. The Eagles' dominance hasn't been well received by everyone. The Green Bay Packers proposed banning the play, but that proposal narrowly failed during contentious league meetings in May. There are still many vocal proponents of banning it, with the measure falling just 2 votes short of passage. But for now, the only thing standing between the Eagles and more successful tush-push plays are NFL defenses, and they are yet to devise reliable ways to stop them. There's some secret ingredient that they got going on over there compared to everybody else, Colts defensive tackle DeForest Buckner said. Steichen remembers vividly the revelatory moment when he discovered the tush-push might become a go-to tactic. He was Philadelphia's play caller on October 9th, 2022, when the Eagles included the current version of the play in their game plan for the first time. They had used a variant of it sparingly in 2021. It was originally intended to be one of several short yardage plays in their offensive catalog. With 8:06 remaining in the first quarter of that day's game against the Arizona Cardinals, the Eagles faced a 1st and goal from the Cardinals' 1-yard line. It was an ideal scenario to roll out their newest play. Worst case, the Eagles would have additional chances to convert if the experiment failed. Ultimately, those fears were unfounded. Hurts, behind a surge from his offensive line, and with tight end Dallas Goedert pulling Hurts from the front and running back Kenneth Gainwell pushing him from behind, barreled across the goal line for the first points of the game. We hit the first one, and I'm like, all right, that was pretty nice. Let's do it again, Steichen said. And so we did it again. I don't even know how many times we ran it in that one game. All told, the Eagles attempted the play 6 times in the victory over Arizona. They converted first downs on 5 of those attempts. That was the day everything changed. The play became the singular focus of the Eagles' short yardage offense. The offensive coaching staff routinely held weekly 90-minute meetings about short yardage situations prior to employing the tush-push, Steichen said. But the instant success of the push play reduced those meetings to about 10 minutes. We'd look at each other and say, "So, are we good?" Steichen said. If there wasn't anything else, we'd just say, "All right, we're done." The staff began adding layers to the play, like drawing up alternative plays they could run out of the tush-push formation. Eventually, they added a second pusher in the backfield after initially drawing up the play with just one. But mostly, coaches were inclined to not fix something that wasn't broken. Since 2022, other teams have had ample opportunity to duplicate the play, but only the Bills have used it with any regularity, converting 51 out of 57 attempts, any down and distance, for an 89.5% success rate. The Chicago Bears, 16 attempts, are the next closest team. Are the Eagles just smarter? More talented? Tougher? It's much more nuanced than that. Not surprisingly, the offensive line plays the most fundamental role in a successful tush-push. Without a powerful unit capable of creating significant upfront push, the play isn't even viable. And yet, 4 of the top 5 teams in run block win rate from 2024 never attempted a push play this past season. The 5th, the Baltimore Ravens, tried it just 5 times. So having a formidable line does not automatically make a team a good candidate to run this play. You have to have the right personnel with the right skill sets. The ability of the interior offensive linemen to create significant push and get lower than the defensive linemen in the scrum is key. Now retired Eagles center Jason Kelce was particularly good at this. You've just got to have the perfect technique. Tennessee Titans center Lloyd Cushenberry III said, "But there are other factors to consider, even for teams with top offensive lines. Take Washington. For example, the Commanders were third in the NFL this past season in rushing yards per game and ranked second in collective run block win rate. But their slender rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, 6'4", 210 pounds, is not as powerfully built as Hurts, who is a compact 6'1" and 223 pounds, and famously squats nearly 600 pounds. I'm assuming they don't want me to do it," Daniels said, of the Commanders' aversion to the play. "I guess that's the reason why. If I need to do it, I'll do it." Therein lies another component of this equation. It is Hurts' lower body strength and overall power, combined with the Eagles' skilled offensive line, that makes it all come together. In Jacksonville, new Jaguars coach Liam Cohen said he has included the tush push in the playbook in part because of 6'6", 220-pound quarterback Trevor Lawrence. But Cohen admits to never considering it in his previous role as Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator, with smaller quarterback Baker Mayfield, 6'1", 215. "We didn't do a ton of quarterback sneaks because Baker was not the biggest, even though he probably bust my chops for saying that," Cohen said. "But he can get them too, though. It'll be a part of the Jaguars' scheme." To that end, Seattle Seahawks coach Mike Macdonald said he might consider using the tush push with rookie quarterback Jalen Milroe, who showed himself to be a powerful runner at Alabama. The Seahawks successfully executed one in the preseason with Milroe under center and could deploy it again. "You've seen him," Macdonald said. "He's a strong person." Instead, the Seahawks ran one with tight end A.J. Barner on Sunday against the Steelers, and they converted. There's a final variable to consider, and it's also related to the quarterback: instincts. Hurts has developed such a knack for finding the openings in that split second after the snap on push plays that it has made him difficult to stop. In that 2022 game, when the Eagles attempted the tush push for the first time, the hole Hurts attempted to push through never materialized, but he ably slid slightly to his left and found an alternative path to the end zone. "The quarterback has to have a tremendous feel for it," Steichen said. "Some have that, some don't." Los Angeles Rams coach Sean McVay makes no pretense about which category his quarterback, Matthew Stafford, falls into. "We always joke he's a terrible sneaker," McVay said. He added, "You won't be seeing much tush push from the LA Rams. There are some in NFL circles who are opposed to the tush push on principle because of the pushing element." Many of those individuals participated in those heated debates earlier in the year. But there are coaches who choose not to run the play based on mere philosophy. For them, there are other ways to gain a single yard in a short yardage scenario. We don't live in that world, Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy said. "Schematically, we feel we have our own ways of getting to that quarterback sneak, even if it's not that play." The Chiefs have in recent years employed tight ends on standard quarterback sneaks, using pre-snap shifts to move them under center. Three-time MVP Patrick Mahomes had a right patellar dislocation, kneecap, on a sneak in 2019 and missed 2 games, which likely influenced their philosophy. The Chiefs' short yardage approach has been relatively successful as they ranked 16th this past season in converting 3rd and 4th downs with a yard or less to go for a first down, 71.7%. Dallas Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer has a similar view. "We have different ways of what I would say attacking the A-gaps and things like that," he said. "And we have some plays that we feel like we've perfected that are different than that." Another obstacle, some say, is the inability to safely replicate the play in practice. Even Steichen admitted calling the tush push as often as the Eagles did is what helped them perfect it, not practice. Some coaches are understandably reluctant to call a play they haven't adequately rehearsed. "We're obviously not going to create a bunch of scrums on the practice field with our own defense and risk injuries," New England Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels said. The Eagles are proof that the best way to improve at running the play is to run it more often. But you can only afford to do so if it's actually working. It's about them doing it over and over and over again, Steichen said. They're getting the reps on the field on game day, and that's their practice, doing it. A final philosophical objection might be one of the most obvious. Not every team wants to subject its quarterback to potential punishment. It's a different question than whether the quarterback is actually good at running the tush-push. Hurts inevitably gets hit on the play, even though it hasn't resulted in an injury for the reigning Super Bowl MVP. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray's position on the concept is simple: count me out. And he told former Arizona coach Cliff Kingsbury as much. Murray recalled running a quarterback sneak early in his career against the Falcons. He converted the first down, he said, but defenders were in the pile, fucking with my fingers and messing with me and stuff. I told Cliff, yo, I'm not doing that shit again. But I would do it if we needed to do it. I would definitely do it. Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores said exposing the quarterback to injury is, in his estimation, the biggest reason more teams don't run the tush-push. It's a violent play, I would say, he said. There's certainly a lot of contact on that particular play. Colts center Tenor Bortolini was recently discussing the idea of a tush-push with quarterback Daniel Jones, formerly of the New York Giants. Jones' position was unambiguous. In New York, he said they ran it one time and he got smoked by a linebacker. Bortolini said. He was like, I never want to run that again. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense. You really hate to put your quarterback in a spot where he can just get drilled like that. There remains significant opposition to the tush-push. During the May League meeting, 22 teams voted for the Packers' proposal to ban it. Passage required 24 votes. That means roughly 2 out of 3 owners were convinced the play is worth eliminating. League officials posited that it's a dangerous play and should be removed from the game. I think we owe it to our players, Green Bay Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst said. It's not about success, it's about safety here. There was also criticism in the Eagles game Sunday, with Fox analyst Tom Brady and Reed suggesting Eagles offensive linemen were getting off the line of scrimmage before the snap, but weren't penalized. If guys are moving early, then you've got to call that, Reed said. The league will go back and look at that and see what their evaluation is of it. It could be different than mine. I felt like the guys were moving, and that's why I was griping about it on the sideline with the officials. But sometimes people see things differently. I'll be curious to see what the response is. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni said of the Chiefs, I would argue that they were in the neutral zone a lot and taking every inch that they had. Still, the questions might create renewed scrutiny of the play. But for now, the play is perfectly legal and available to every team. And yet there is minimal momentum toward wider usage. In week 1 of this season, just 2 teams ran a tush-push of any sort. To no surprise, it was the same teams that have long been doing it successfully. The Eagles and the Bills, 2 attempts each. It's just the latest evidence of what has been clear all along. The rest of the league still hasn't cracked this code, and the Eagles, in particular, stand alone. I can't hate that they mastered it. Titans defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day said, shout out to their coach, shout out to their players. They just got it down. They got it down to the T.
Hey yo, ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talking the game. This is the Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Go to Dress the Beast. WWE's Power, couples got into each other's faces. And we got a tag team main event on the go-home edition of Raw before Saturday's Wrestle-Apalooza, 7 p.m. ESPN Unlimited. Going into Raw from Springfield, Massachusetts. John Cena had 7 WWE appearances left before his December retirement. He used one of those remaining dates on Monday night to address a crowd in a city with which he shares a special connection. The 4 wrestlers in Saturday's mixed tag team match, CM Punk / AJ Lee and Seth Rollins / Becky Lynch, took turns trading verbal and physical slaps at each other days before they are to step into the ring together. And in the main event of Raw, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker scored a big victory over LA Knight and Jimmy USO, leading to a post-match angle where Knight got his revenge on Jey Uso by laying him out with a BFD to close the show. Here's a recap of Raw, with the biggest takeaways from Monday night. Unafraid, John Cena returns to Springfield and is ready for Brock Lesnar. As Cena's WWE career continues to wind down, he made one final appearance in front of a sellout crowd at the MassMutual Center in Springfield. Cena was an offensive lineman at Springfield College in the late 1990s before signing with the WWE in 2001. The 17-time world champion seemed to enjoy talking to fans, friends, former teammates, and family in his home state of Massachusetts. Cena delivered an impassioned speech about how saying no to a match against Brock Lesnar would have been the safe option, but as the last real champion, he would have to overcome being afraid of stepping into the ring against the Beast. It was a good speech just days before their main event match at WrestlePalooza, Indianapolis. It has been more than 10 years since Lesnar and Cena last met in a singles match, with Lesnar winning 4 of the 6 one-on-one battles between the two. The confrontation between CM Punk / AJ Lee and Seth Rollins / Becky Lynch was a fun preview for their highly anticipated WrestlePalooza mixed tag team match. During the 20-minute segment, all 4 wrestlers took turns on a microphone, delivering jabs about liking their spouses, taking shots at theme songs choices, and reading or not reading their opponents' autobiographies. In the end, Becky and Seth planted the seed of whether AJ Lee's 10-year retirement and previous injuries would hurt her in Saturday's match. The insults culminated with Becky flattening AJ Lee with a manhandle slam and slapping CM Punk in the face. Bayley returned to WWE following a 2-month absence, coming to the aid of Lyra Valkyria, who was attacked by Judgment Day following her win against Roxanne Perez. Bayley then proceeded to walk around the ring, hugging everyone in sight. It appeared that Hugger Bayley, previously adored by WWE fans, was back, at least for a portion of the night. Later in the show, Bayley berated Valkyria for walking into her locker room. I wonder if we will see these dual happy/angry versions of the Bayley character interchangeably throughout future shows. I love that we are seeing multiple El Grande Americanos. 2 extra ones came to help the one competing to defeat Dragon Lee, then hit the Spider-Man point meme on the entrance ramp. A funny moment in the match was when AJ Styles came to the ring to help even the odds of Dragon Lee after the second Grande Americano attacked, and commentators Joe Tessitore and Corey Graves pointed under the ring, signaling to Styles where the other Americano was. Despite also pointing, Graves asked Tessitore, "Why'd you tell him, you stooge?" It was a Bobby the Brain Heenan-inspired quip from Graves. I hope we get a Survivor Series match with 5 El Grande Americanos on the same team. During a backstage segment, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed vowed to end the Usos, whom they acknowledged as the greatest tag team in the business. I like it when Breaker takes a page from Jake the Snake Roberts and speaks softly in his promos. The son of Rick Steiner and nephew of Scott Steiner doesn't need to yell. His ludicrous speed and car crash level spears do more than enough of the talking. Similarly, I liked Rusev's interaction with Dominic Mysterio because of its simplicity. Judgment Day continues to unravel as Finn Balor and JD McDonough delivered a stern message to Mysterio about his recent allegiance with El Grande Americano. When his Judgment Day partners left, Rusev entered backstage and startled Dirty Dom to let him know that "I am the next Intercontinental Champion," before walking away. Rusev is an imposing figure, and it should eventually be a terrific match between the two. For the first time, WrestleMania will take place outside North America when the Showcase of the Immortals heads to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, as part of Riyadh season in 2027, WWE announced Friday. Since its inception in 1985, WrestleMania has been hosted only in North American cities. WWE Chief Creative Officer Paul Triple H Levesque has teased the idea of the company's biggest event traveling overseas, and now that will become a reality. This is an opportunity to show the world that WWE is a global brand that reaches every corner of the world and excites fans from everywhere. Levesque said. The formal announcement comes just days after Turki Al-Sheikh, chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, was seen on a since-deleted Snapchat Live video stating that WrestleMania will make the move to Saudi Arabia. WrestleMania is already the biggest date on the wrestling calendar, and this announcement marks a significant moment in our partnership with WWE. Al-Sheikh said in a statement, "We deeply respect the legacy of WrestleMania and the global prestige it holds among wrestling fans around the world. As part of Riyadh's season in 2027, our vision is to elevate this iconic event to unprecedented heights and deliver a WrestleMania unlike anything the world has ever seen." WWE has been hosting events in Saudi Arabia since 2018, when the promotion and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia agreed to a $1 billion deal that would see the company run multiple shows in the country over the next 10 years. Next year's Royal Rumble will be the first of the big four WWE PLE events to take place in Saudi Arabia. WrestleMania 42 will be held at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on April 18, 2026 and April 19, 2026. It will be the second consecutive time that Las Vegas has hosted WrestleMania. It was a play nearly 2 decades in the making. With 6.1 seconds remaining and the score knotted at 82, the Seattle Storm took a timeout. In the huddle, Coach Noel Quinn called a play for Skylar Diggins to take the last shot. But as the guard walked onto court, she told teammate Nneka Ogwumike that the Washington Mystics had been aggressively defending pick and rolls. If Ogwumike went early and slipped the screen instead, she'd be open. That's how it played out moments later in the August 24 victory. Diggins found Ogwumike, who freed herself for a winning jumper from a free throw line. It was the kind of play the longtime friends envisioned when they finally teamed up on the Storm in 2024 free agency. It was the kind of play they'd done together years earlier at USA basketball camps. Very potent pick and roll since teenage years, Diggins told ESPN. Their pairing the past 2 seasons in Seattle has helped both players stay at an all-star level in their mid-30s. But as the Storm face an elimination game Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. ESPN2, against the Las Vegas Aces and former teammate Jewel Lloyd in the first round of the WNBA playoffs, Diggins and Ogwumike are still looking to translate their partnership into team success they expected. "In the short time that we've been together, we've been through a lot," Ogwumike told ESPN. "Going through those times of adversity, you end up leaning a lot on each other, and I'm just hoping that I can provide whatever support that is necessary for us to not just get through those times, but to look forward to having more consistent wins and the way that we want to feel." Diggins and Ogwumike don't quite remember when they first crossed paths. There was a Nike camp in Portland, Oregon, and they were both stars on the AAU circuit. But they made a memorable mark on each other while playing for USA basketball. "I was just like, I gotta step my game up," Ogwumike said of her first impression of Diggins. "I don't think I had ever seen anyone that competitive. With Sky, it's all or nothing. It doesn't matter who is in front of her. I just remember being in Colorado Springs and wanted to be on her team every time, because it's very rare to find people that want to win at all costs." Diggins had equal praise for Ogwumike. "She just played like a pro," Diggins said. "She always seemed like a woman among girls. Any place she was at, not much has changed in 20 years. How she moved on the floor, how electric and dynamic she was as a player. That's not something you see very often." They were teammates for the first time at the 2008 FIBA Americas U18 Championships. A year later, they helped the United States win the FIBA U19 World Cup in Thailand as starters, with Ogwumike putting up 22 points and 20 rebounds against Spain in the final. By then, their paths had already parted for college. Ogwumike, coming off her freshman season at Stanford, was on the cusp of becoming an All-American. Diggins was tempted to join her in Palo Alto, where Ogwumike hosted her official visit. All they'll share about that weekend is that it was a lot of fun. Diggins got into Stanford, where Ogwumike said she fit right in, but ultimately decided on Notre Dame, saying she needed to stay closer to home in Indiana. "I love Stanford," Diggins said. "If it wasn't so far." It was a perfect situation for NECA, and then it was a perfect situation for me at Notre Dame. We did everything to the 11th hour to try to make it work. Ever since then, we had always been trying to see if the timing worked for us outside of USAB in those camps, if there was a possibility that maybe one day we could play with each other. Drafted into the WNBA a year apart, Agumike, no. Won by the Los Angeles Sparks in 2012, Diggins, no. 3 by the Tulsa Shock as part of the star-studded 3-C 2013 draft. The two kept in touch and mused about teaming up as their careers blossomed. Diggins hit free agency in 2020 and requested a trade from her team, which had moved to Dallas and become the Wings. She was among the first star players to take advantage of the opportunities to change teams created by the WNBA collective bargaining agreement that Agumike was key to negotiating as president of the WNBPA. But the timing wasn't right for partnering. Agumike Sparks, who had lost in the semifinals a year before, had a loaded roster that included all-star point guard Chelsea Gray. Diggins instead landed with the Phoenix Mercury to kick off the WNBA's super team era, joining Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi. As both Diggins and Agumike approached free agency 4 years later, the situation was different. Diggins had already publicly split from the Mercury while sitting out the previous season on maternity leave. Agumike was ready for a change after watching Gray and Candace Parker depart Los Angeles in free agency, leaving the Sparks mired in the lottery her final 3 seasons. Diggins, who had considered Seattle a potential landing spot if Phoenix traded her in 2023 and built a relationship with Quinn, was the first to sign on while Agumike decided between the Storm and New York Liberty. Diggins spent that period calling her every day and saying, "I'm respecting your process," but still calling her every single day, she said. Everybody wants NECA on their team. If she was free, 10 teams would still ask for NECA to this day, said Agumike. I would say that Skylar was definitely more sure where she wanted to go before I came here. I was still trying to fight the misconception that I was being disloyal because I had been at that franchise for so long. Once I was able to leave that, I was really able to understand, okay, I have opportunities. Not only did I have opportunities, but I had the chance to play with someone who I consider my sister, to play for people that have also been a part of my life growing into this basketball career. Playing together has only strengthened that bond. You'll see NECA on the plane holding my daughter and putting her to sleep, Diggins said. No other woman in this world outside of my mother can say that. I trust her with my children. She's one of my very best friends in this world. You don't get a lot of those in this league. A lot of us cross paths, but to be able to connect and stay connected for that long, it's a rarity and something that I definitely don't take for granted. Now, in very different stages of their lives than when they first met, Diggins grimaces for effect when she acknowledges they've gone from friends as teenagers through their 20s and now into their 30s. They continue to find their values overlap. It's amazing when you can share the same discipline and competitive edge as somebody, Agumike said. But then when you're on the team with them, and it's someone that I consider like my sister as well, it almost feels like it activates something within me that I didn't know that I had, or maybe that I was scared to tap into. She brings out kind of the best of my potential. The individual greatness of Diggins and Agumike is hard to deny, and their connection has kept them both among the best in the WNBA. The Storm generated 372 points out of Diggins-Agumike pick and rolls, which ranked 5th most of any combination in the league this season, per Genius IQ tracking. For Agumike, her 18.3 scoring average was the 4th best in her WNBA career. And Diggins has averaged at least 6.0 assists both seasons in Seattle, having previously done so only once, 2018. Both players are making history. Agumike is up to 6th on the league's all-time scoring leaderboard, with 5 Tamika Catchings in her sights, and 7th in career rebounds. Diggins has climbed to 8th in assists despite sitting out 2 full seasons because of maternity leave. Yet the team's success they expected hasn't followed. And to keep this season's championship dream alive, they'll need to go through their former teammate Lloyd and the Aces. When Diggins and Agumike met with Seattle reporters in February 2024 after signing their contracts, they didn't hesitate to discuss the goal of winning championships. Although Lloyd wasn't on stage, Those lofty expectations were largely because Diggins and Agumike were joining Lloyd as part of a Seattle super team. The lone holdover starter from the Storm's 2018 and 2020 title teams that featured Sue Bird and Brianna Stewart, Lloyd played a key role in helping recruit Diggins, her teammate as a freshman at Notre Dame, and Agumike. A year later, Lloyd is on the other side of Seattle's series with the Aces. A promising start to 2024, which saw Seattle enter the Olympic break tied for the league's third-best record at 17-8, came apart amid Lloyd's unhappiness with how her role evolved. Per league sources and first reported by the Seattle Times, Lloyd asked the Storm to fire Quinn after the team's first-round sweep against Las Vegas. Diggins and Agumike supported Quinn, keeping her job. You want to go to battle with people like that have your back, no matter what, that keep the main thing, Quinn told ESPN. Not saying it's always perfect or pretty. We're a family and we go through the ups and downs of that. But at the end of the day, they're amazing people. Basketball is the icing on the cake. The way that they've had my back through it all, it's honorable and it just makes me want to go harder for them. After an investigation into Lloyd's allegations of bullying and harassment by the Seattle coaching staff uncovered no violations of team policy, she requested a trade. The Storm sent Lloyd to the Aces in a 3-team deal that netted the 2 pick in this year's draft, used on promising 19-year-old center Dominique Malona. Despite the loss of Lloyd, Diggins declared at Media Day that Seattle's was definitely the most talented roster I've been a part of in my 13 years, including the 2021 Mercury squad she helped lead to the WNBA Finals. That seemed reasonable at the start of August. The Storm had a league-high 3 All-Stars, with Gabby Williams joining Diggins and Agumike in Indianapolis. Tied for 4th in the standings to start the month, Seattle dropped 6 consecutive games and ended up needing to win its season finale to secure a playoff spot. Sunday's lopsided loss was a bitter pill for the Storm. According to her hoop stats, the 33 points by which Seattle was outscored with Agumike on the court was the worst plus-minus of her WNBA career, regular season or playoffs. It left the Storm needing a win Tuesday to keep their season, and perhaps this era, going. As she tries to avoid elimination, Diggins wouldn't want anyone else but Agumike by her side. "I'm good as long as I'm with her. You know what I'm saying?" she said. "For the rest of my career."
Hey yo, ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talking the game. This is the Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Despite a bumpier-than-expected path, the Los Angeles Dodgers might still repeat as World Series champions, becoming the first team to do so since the New York Yankees of the late 1990s. If that comes to pass, few would be surprised. At the same time, based on what we've seen since opening day, few would be surprised also if they fall. Thus, the Dodgers season can't yet be labeled a success or a failure. If the Dodgers win another title, that's an obvious success. Failure is a little harder to define, but consider that L.A. is one of 5 teams on pace to finish more than 10 games under their preseason baseline forecast. They're also leading the tough National League West. Success or failure? The answer is complicated. Baseball is the most quantifiable and projectable of the major sports, and forecasts are invaluable in setting our expectations for what might happen and how to react to what actually comes to pass. Yet baseball is also paradoxically and wonderfully unpredictable. Teams and pundits alike enter the season with a good idea of what each club's strengths and weaknesses are. Yet those observations tend to fly out the window when confronted by the reality of an actual season. Using preseason expectations as our guide, we're going to identify the biggest success and failure for all 30 teams. Plan and project all you want. In the end, the fates will have their way. Arizona Diamondbacks. Biggest success, Geraldo Perdomo. Most of the good news for Arizona this season has been on the position player side, led by a career year for Perdomo. after signing a 4-year extension that doesn't kick in until next year. The 25-year-old went out and put up the best season by a shortstop in franchise history. Already a defensive standout, Perdomo entered this season with 14 career home runs. This year, he has 19 and is on pace to drive in 100 runs. He also might get to 100 runs scored and 30 steals. It has been an MVP-level showing. Biggest failure, the rotation. Arizona entered the season with an on-paper rotation that looked loaded. Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Brandon Pfaadt. That quintet has gone 47-39 with a 4.37 ERA. Burns went down for the season in June. Kelly was traded, and the other three all have ERA plus figures, well below league average. The Arizona bullpen has been even worse, but the roster and the payroll were built on a foundation of elite starting pitching that has not held up. Athletics. Biggest success. Nick Kurtz. That Kurtz is good isn't a surprise. That he's this good this fast is stunning and exhilarating. After an aggressive promotion in late April, Kurtz didn't hit his first homer until his 17th big league game. He then went deep 19 times over 49 games with a 1.078 OPS, and that was only the lead-up to his 6.46 four-homer outburst on July 25th, in which he tied the MLB record for 19 total bases in a game. In his age 22 season, Kurtz is on track to become the 8th rookie with an OPS over 1.000, minimum 400 plate appearances, and of the 8, only Ted Williams and Albert Pujols had a younger baseball age. The A's have found their cornerstone player. Biggest failure, Luis Severino. The A's made a rare splurge in last winter's free agent market, inking Severino to a 3-year, $67 million deal. Year 1 has been disappointing. Severino has gone 6-11 with a 4.82 ERA and an 87 ERA plus, while posting the lowest strikeout rate, 17.6% of his career. His struggles in Sacramento have been epic. Severino is 1-9 with a 6.51 ERA over 14 starts at Sutter Health Park. Atlanta Braves. Biggest success, Hurston Waldrep. Successes have been few and far between for the Braves, but Waldrop's trajectory seems to be one of them. The sample remains small, but Waldrep went 4-0 with a 1.33 ERA over his first 7 starts in 2025 before being roughed up by Houston. He looks like a keeper if the Braves can keep him healthy. Biggest failure, the entire season? The Braves are on pace to miss their forecast by 24 games, a plummet so severe that it's hard to blame it on any one thing. Injuries have played a part, but other teams are headed to the postseason with plenty of those. The Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, and Brewers among those with worse health metrics than the Braves. The collapse on the pitching side has been more acute than on offense, but no one is without culpability. Perhaps worst of all, the Braves have baseball's second-worst organizational record. Things haven't been any better in the minors. Baltimore Orioles. Biggest success, Trevor Rogers. The Orioles have underperformed across the board, so it could be that we're damning Rogers with faint praise here. But he has been a genuine revelation. Rogers began the season in the minors and wasn't that great there, going 0-3 with a 5.51 ERA in 8 starts. In the majors, the former Marlin is 8-2 with a 1.43 ERA over 16 starts with solid peripherals. Go figure. Going into what Baltimore hopes will be a bounce-back 2026 season, the Orioles' rotation needs a lot more success stories like this. Biggest failure, Adley Rutschman. You hate to pick on one player when the Orioles have disappointed in so many areas, but Rutschman is an avatar for a number of shortcomings. He has underperformed. Baltimore entered the season with the 3rd-best WAR projection at the catcher position, but instead ranked 25th. He has been injured. According to an injury impact metric based on data from Baseball Prospectus, the Orioles ranked 29th in baseball. After 2 straight disappointing seasons for Rutschman, and considering the arrival of elite prospect Samuel Basallo, the future of the Orioles at catcher looks a lot different than it did a couple of years ago. Boston Red Sox. Biggest success, pitching acquisitions. You really can't choose between Cy Young candidate Garrett Crochet or reliever of the year candidate Aroldis Chapman, neither of whom was with Boston at this time last year. Crochet has blossomed with the Red Sox. Matching the dominance he showed per inning with Chicago with the workload of a true ace. Chapman, at 37, is on pace to record a career-best ERA, 1.26, and his second-best BWAR, 3.3, just shy of his 3.4 in 2012. Biggest failure in season roster work. The Red Sox have received great production from their rookie class, headlined by Roman Anthony and Carlos Narvaez, but a team in position to challenge for the American League East title ranks 29th in my in-season acquisition index, a metric that looks at the quality and quantity of the production from players signed or traded for during the season. Boston has dealt with a lot of injuries, 27th in injury impact, but has been too passive about compensating for them. Chicago Cubs. Biggest success, the offense. Things have slowed over the second half, but the Cubs' attack has been one of baseball's most productive and exciting over the course of the season. Chicago leads the majors in secondary average, patience and power, isolated power, and team-level power speed number. The production has come from up and down the lineup, giving the Cubs one of their deepest offenses in years. Biggest failure, the bullpen. The Cubs' rotation has picked up the pace over the second half, which has helped pick up the slack from the regressing hitters. But as October nears, the Cubs still lack clarity in the bullpen. With Daniel Palencia out, the relievers still lack a clear end-of-game hammer. Since the All-Star break, the Cubs' relief ERA, 4.40, is middle of the pack. For the most part, Craig Counsell has pieced things together, but the lack of impact acquisitions during the season, with the exception of Andrew Kittredge, might undermine the Cubs once the postseason arrives. Chicago White Sox. Biggest success, the rookies. According to my rookie contribution metric, basically adding up the consensus WAR figures for first-year players, the White Sox, 11.61 rookie WAR, have for more wins than any other team. In Kyle Teal, Colson Montgomery, Chase Mydroth, Mike Vasil, Shane Smith, Edgar Cuero, and Wikelman Gonzalez, Chicago has graduated some bona fide building blocks to the majors. With a decent finish, the White Sox can avoid another 100-loss season. That might seem like a low bar for excitement, but when you're coming off a 121-loss debacle, that's a huge improvement. Biggest failure, Luis Robert Jr. The season began with reports of Robert's revamped approach at the plate, but 2025 proved to be another step back for one of the game's most talented players. Robert did improve his strike zone indicators, but it didn't pay off at the bottom line, as his OPS plus dropped 2 more points off his career low of 86 in 2024. And it looks as if he'll end the season where he has spent far too much time during his career on the injured list. Whether you view Robert as a White Sox building block or the team's last best chance to generate impactful return in the trade market, none of this is good. Cincinnati Reds. Biggest success, the rotation. The Reds' pitching, in general, has kept the team on the fringe of the playoff chase all season, but the starters, in particular, have been rock solid. According to my EXE metric used in the Awards Watch Series, 6 of the top 9 Reds performers this season have been starting pitchers, led by Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, and Hunter Green. Only 3 teams have compiled more quality starts. Biggest failure, the flagging offense. Cincinnati's hitters are on track to finish around their preseason forecast of 660 park-neutral runs scored, but at the midway point of the season, the Reds were on pace to finish at 693, and during the span of the regression, a trade deadline passed. Miguel Andujar has helped when he has played, but it hasn't been enough. The Reds rank 19th or worse at 5 of the 9 positions by OPS, and that's with the baked-in boost of Great American Ballpark. Cleveland Guardians. Biggest success, the stretch run rotation. After years of forging a reputation as a starting pitcher factory, the Guardians' actual performance in that area over the past couple of years hasn't lived up to it. Until recently, that is, after ranking 18th with a 4.17 rotation ERA through August 25, Cleveland is second with a 2.78 mark since. The Guardians have hung in the playoff race with a 14-5 record during that span, despite ranking 22nd with only 4.16 runs scored per game. Biggest failure, the offense. Take your pick, really. Whatever the offensive metric, the Guardians stink in it. They're 29th or worse in each of the slash columns, last in BOBIP and 24th in isolated power. They rank 29th in OPS at catcher and shortstop, and 30th in center field and right field. There's only so much Jose Ramirez can do. Colorado Rockies. Biggest success, attendance. The Rockies are in the pack, drawing 29,676 fans per game, down just 1,211 over last season. They are outdrawing the first-place Detroit Tigers. The world is a very strange place sometimes. Biggest failure, everything else. Assuming the Rockies don't lose out, which could happen, of course, they won't end up matching or surpassing the 2024 White Sox's season record for losses. Still, this marks the Rockies' third straight 100-loss season, fourth straight last-place finish, and seventh straight season of finishing fourth or worse in the NL West. The Rockies are long overdue when it comes to asking hard questions about how they do things. Detroit Tigers. Biggest success. Tarek Skubal, the Tigers are closing in on their first division title in 11 years and second straight playoff berth. They are built largely on internally developed players and hold baseball's best overall organizational record. In other words, lots more talent is on the way. Still, Skubal stands out on a team full of success stories by replicating or even bettering his Cy Young winning 2024 campaign. He has become one of baseball's biggest stars and the face of what Detroit has been building. And this edifice has a lot of faces. Biggest failure, the rotation depth. Skubal's is but one turn through the rotation, and the Tigers' run prevention has lagged over the second half of the season. Since the break, Skubal has a 2.31 ERA with 8 quality starts in 10 outings. The rest of the Detroit rotation has a 5.32 ERA with only 10 quality starts in 43 outings. If this bites the Tigers in the postseason, there will be questions about why Detroit didn't take a bigger swing at the trade deadline. Houston Astros. Biggest success, front office improvisation. The Astros are almost right at their preseason forecast, but their path to those 87 to 88 wins has been less than predictable. Because of that, much of the story of Houston's season can be told in two of the measures we keep mentioning. First, the Astros rank last in the injury impact metric, meaning no team has been more affected by player absences, Yordan Alvarez especially. Second, the Astros rank first on the in-season acquisition leaderboard. Carlos Correa, Jesus Sanchez, Ramon Urias, Craig Kimbrell, and others have helped keep Houston's contention window ajar as we enter the home stretch. Biggest failure, Christian Walker. The Astros' offense is much less dynamic than it has been in a long time. No one player is to blame, and Alvarez's long stay on the IL has to be kept in mind. But things wouldn't be quite so severe if Walker had plugged what has become a long-standing hole for Houston at first base. It's always dicey signing free agent hitters who are well into their 30s, and so it has been so far for Walker, whose OPS plus has slipped from a 3-year average of 123 in Arizona to 95 in Houston. He has been better since the All-Star break, so we should hold off final judgment on the signing for now. But the bottom line is that, at the moment, Walker is barely over replacement level on the season. Kansas City Royals. Biggest success, the starting pitching last season. The Royals got 151 starts from their top 5 starters. This season, they've had 12 pitchers make at least 2 starts, and depending on when, and if, Michael Wacha returns before the end of the season, none of them might qualify for an ERA title. The injuries have affected the rotation performance during the second half, but it hasn't fallen off a cliff, and for the season, Kansas City has MLB's 6th best rotation ERA. Whether it's converting relievers, Chris Bubic, developing mid-level prospects, Noah Cameron, or identifying trade targets, Ryan Burgert, the Royals have become adept at finding rotation answers that fit their system. Biggest failure, the offense. Bobby Witt Jr. remains a superstar. Michael Garcia has been one of baseball's most improved players. Vinny Pasquantino remains a high-level run producer. But other than a midseason surge, the Royals have just not been able to score consistently enough to hang in the playoff chase, despite their elite pitching and defense combo. They've tried to paper over their holes with trades during the season, but the baseline for the lineup is just too low to fix on the fly. Los Angeles Angels. Biggest success, Zach Neto. With a second straight 5-WAR season, Neto has become one of baseball's top shortstops at age 24. He sat out time early in the season, and his numbers for the most part are similar to 2024, save for a non-trivial uptick in slugging. As he has matured, Neto has hit the ball harder more often, while still shining in the field and on the bases. Biggest failure, Mike Trout. During the 4-year period from 2021 to 2024, Trout averaged just 66.5 games per season, but on a per-162 game basis, he had rates of 46.3 homers, 109 runs, and a 160 OPS+. If he could only stay in the lineup. With a move to DH this season, Trout has indeed been more available, but his impact has ebbed. Trout's OPS+ is 115, solid, but not Trout-like, and his slugging percentage is a shocking .417. Maybe it's just the adjustment to DHing, which isn't always smooth. Trout, after all, is still only 34 years old. Los Angeles Dodgers. Biggest success, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Remember, we're dealing with expectations here. So Shohei Ohtani doesn't get credit in this context for doing the incredible things he already was doing. But it has been a banner season for Yamamoto, the most stable part of a deep Dodgers rotation that has again been riddled with injuries. Yamamoto has lived up to his pre-2024 hype, but ramping up the volume, at least for a Dodgers pitcher. Already over the 162-inning minimum, Yamamoto is the first Dodgers pitcher to qualify for the ERA title since 2022. Biggest failure, health. Health has continued to be a general problem for the Dodgers, but it continues to be especially bad on the pitching side. L.A. is baseball's deepest team, but despite that, the injuries have come so frequently that the Dodgers have kept the transaction wire spinning all season. They've used 39 different pitchers, 16 of whom have started at least one game, and 10 of whom have earned at least one save. How does manager Dave Roberts keep it all straight? Miami Marlins. Biggest success, an emerging lineup. Between young players who have hit the ground running, Agustin Ramirez, Jacob Marcy, and young veterans improving as they enter their primes, Otto Lopez, Xavier Edwards, and, especially, Kyle Stowers. The Marlins increasingly look like a team that can field an exciting lineup in 2026. Biggest failure, the rotation. Injuries over the past couple of years have rocked a talented group of Marlins starters. Other than a midseason surge when the Marlins pitchers got hot as a group, Miami starters have been lit up for most of 2025, ranking 28th in rotation ERA with the second lowest total of quality starts. Yet the talent of Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, and an interesting wave of coming prospects remains tantalizing. Maybe next season it'll all come back into focus. Milwaukee Brewers. Biggest success. Bryce Turang's ascension into an all-star caliber player is undeniable now that he has added power to an already full toolkit. He's one of the game's best second basemen, but more than that, he typifies Milwaukee's transformation into MLB's top regular season club. He's young, athletic, great on defense, and gets on base. And he's exciting, standing out as one of baseball's most aesthetically pleasing players to watch. Biggest failure, reliever health? Most everything has gone right for the Brewers, so it's hard to term anything as a failure. Even the bullpen has been excellent over the course of the season, but a spate of late-season injuries has made things a wee bit more interesting as we edge toward the playoffs. Minnesota Twins. Biggest success, Joe Ryan. The Twins' right-hander made the leap from solid mid-rotation starter to top-of-the-rotation ace this season. Ryan will finish with a career-high innings count and will likely match that volume with his best ERA+, currently 126, and be WAR for .5. Ryan's season isn't out of line with what he has done before on a per-inning basis, but he has done it more often. Now, as Ryan stands to earn a jump in pay per the arbitration system, we'll see if the frugal Twins pay him or trade him.